Hello children over 30, it's Drew back here with another product review. Today we're going to talk about those old school Salomons. There's a lot of hype around them. Do they live up to it? Let's check it out. So first off, you may have noticed the name of the channel is different. It's no longer PTD4 Prez, it's City Blades. Should make it easier for people to find. It just really dawned on me a couple days ago how mumbly jumbly ridiculous that name was. So hopefully it's better now. Second thing is I've featured a bunch of channels that I think people that like my stuff will like. So if you like my stuff, be sure and check those out. My primary experience has been with ST10s, couple sizes of those, and then the Feinbergs. Generally, from what I've found, Salomons come in three-ish categories. So you have the ones that have these speed lace things on the top, and they're usually dark in color, hard boots. Those are known for being a very stiff, supportive skate. Some of the older ones before they were UFS, like the kind of brownish ones and lighter colored ones, those are going to be a little bit more flexible. And then, of course, you have the soft boots like the STIs, ST Pros, the Vinnies, all of those. Those are going to be really stiff and rigid too. They're a little bit wider from what I understand, better quality liners, just better quality all around. So the perishables on this, the liners, I really like the Salomon liners. Everybody historically has pretty much always really liked the Salomon liners. The thing is, with the age that these skates are getting, it's getting harder and harder to find liners. And in my experience, which has been like Intuitions, blank liners, and Skinny Boys, I never really found anything that worked really well in this skate. They all had problems in one way or another. So if you're looking into getting a pair of Salomons, definitely get one with a nice set of liners in it that's not all like pulled out and mashed down and ripped and whatnot. The other perishable thing on this skate, or the most perishable thing, would be the heel shock absorber. So out of the four, man, that's crazy to say, the four pairs of Salomons that I ended up buying, two of them came with heel pads that were at least somewhat intact. But they're really, really on the way out. Like, it makes me nervous anytime I have to take them out of the boot for whatever reason, because I know they're going to get crumbly. You can replace them with Razor's SL heel pads. From what I hear, they're a little bit more dense. So depending on your skating style, that may be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's not really up to choice at this point. The soles on these, this is the 8.5 shell, by the way. I actually like the stock soles quite a bit. They slide really nice. In this 8.5, which is a really small size for me to wear, the heel part on this is only about an inch wide. So I found pretty quickly that doing soles on anything that was really fat, or, you know, those ledge planter things that have like the beveled sides on them, those are not like a good time. Like, you really have to get in an old school stance, get your sole foot way over to get a good lock on. But that being said, they do slide pretty fast. These are getting harder and harder to come by. Well, I can't even say that. These are really, really hard to come by now, though. So unless you get a pair with a fresh set of soles on them, you might not get to experience them anyway. Same with the Backslide Plate. It's really deep, got that old school kind of backward bit to it. But pretty much all the sole plates available for this, or that people have made available for this, like the carbon soles, the Seta soles, the UFS thrones, pretty much anything that's flat you can make fit. But all those are going to have like built-in backslide plates for them, so it's not really anything you need to worry about. The shell on these is going to be a good thick hunk of plastic. They take really well to heat molding. When I got these 8.5s, they were way too narrow for my feet. They felt like, you know, the size that somebody with an 8.5 foot would wear, or an 8. And I heated the crap out of them and did all kind of things like shoving 90, 100 millimeter wheels down there to stretch out the toe box, because you can't really force mold the toe box. I mean, your toes aren't rigid enough to provide, you know, that kind of force. And then the sides a little bit I had to heat out, but, you know, just kind of standing and moving my foot around in the skate was enough to compensate for that. The speed lacer things on here are freaking magic. Like, it is the most responsive lacing system I've ever experienced on a hard boot, like, period. And I can't even think of anything on the modern market that I can say would probably be competitive with it, at least on the hard boot side. Like, nobody has matched this since. You can really get in there and make it to where it's so tight on the top of your foot, it's painful. It's that responsive. Moving on up, the cuffs, as I mentioned before, are pretty low cut. And again, this is going to be a pretty rigid skate, so if you're looking for something low but still firm, this is going to be a great option for you. I don't really know much about like the Energizer cuff, which was, a big marketing point for Salomon's back in the day. They promised it made you skate faster and jump higher and all that PF Flyer stuff. But I will say that for some reason, like whenever I do a gap in these skates, I always lace it, like 100% of the time. It's so weird. Some of this could be like the big heel raise in there. Maybe it puts you in a more natural position to jump off things and then, land on the ground off of that. It could be the cuff. I can't really say for sure, but for whatever reason, like if I'm jumping off stuff, I want to do it in these skates. And it's not just because of the squishiness of the heel pad. It's because whatever balance they're trying to elicit with the design of this skate matches perfectly with what I need. The buckles, I still don't like buckles, but these are so nice. I'm kind of nervous about drilling them out. Like, I know I would be happy with a Velcro strap, but just having a buckle that works, there's no like snapping mechanism and it still just stays shut all the time. As far as buckles go, it's about the best buckle that you can get. The frames I've already reviewed in another video, so if you want to check my channel, and I think it's called Salomon Frames and Joe Atkinson mod or something like that. Anyway, I talk about them. I would like to make one amendment to that though, which is I learned that the frame spacers, if you use aggressive profile wheels, have a tendency to pop out and rub on the wheels. I didn't have that problem because I was using bullet profile wheels, but if you plan on getting that frame and using aggressive profile wheels, either don't or glue them in or something like that, because that could be a bad problem to have. So sizing, let's get into that. So when I first started on this Salomon journey, I was still under the impression that I was a size 10. The first boot I got was this 10 and a half Feinberg. And since I've measured my foot and I know it's about 268 millimeters, absolutely swimming in this boot. Like, I knew immediately it wasn't going to work out. Actually, I have some friends that are in the 11, 12 range, and whenever they need to borrow skates for whatever reason, like, this is the boot that I give them. Bryant skated these in the City Blades video, and yeah, he's typically an 11 and a half, somewhere around there. So the next pair I got was this 9.5 ST10. And you can see I have some of the Daniel, man, I don't want to butcher his last name, but it's the guy on Blade Facebook who makes Salomon soles, and they're usually based off like Shadows or USD 7s or something like that, UHMW. Real high quality. I had a lot of fun skating these soles. But the 9.5 shell, I still can and do skate. I'm finding that for aggressive skating, I like something that feels just a little bit sloppy. When you get like a really form-fitted, stiff boot, it just makes certain things more difficult, and my aggressive skill being where it is, I don't particularly need things to be more difficult. So yeah, I really like these for aggressive skating. It's still a pretty stiff boot, but being low cut and the lacing being as responsive as it is and stuff like that, you can kind of wear them a little bit looser in the top than you maybe could with other skates. In riding them like that, there's no 45 on this, and I still don't find myself getting a lot of heel lift. You can't go crazy with it and just not do the buckles and expect your heels to stay in place. Like, it's not going to happen. But, with a moderate amount of looseness, these hold up just fine. And also check out Daniel's soles. These, for like an FSK boot, I really like quite a bit. I was contemplating for a while getting like a Seba FR and throwing like the aggressive sole plate on it and stuff. And, I had this concern about, just the stability of the 165 mount. Because on my Metros, like, if I do a little fish brain stall or something like that, it knocks the frame way out of alignment. And yeah, the FRs have like 70 holes that you can screw the frames to, but there's still a big ass slot in the frame. So, I still wasn't 100% convinced on that. So These being UFS and having the sole plate that the frame fits inside and there's only one spot that it can be in, really enjoy that. The heel pad and plastic boot and everything is not the most responsive, but it does feel really good for like power pulls and basically anything where you're using your edges, specifically on 1 foot, like 1 foot edge maneuvers, lines and such, to just be able to dig into that heel and know that you're not going to be falling backwards or anything. And yeah, it's good. It's like you almost, what you lose in power transfer, you gain some of it back in just corrected posture and economy of movement or something to that effect. I don't know. It makes doing the move effectively a little bit easier. As mentioned, if you want to jump on and off of things, I personally lace it every time in these. The soles, the other thing that I really like about this for that kind of thing is, I kind of make a point in my free FSK, free skating type stuff to not do any grinds. Like if I'm going to do slides, I'm going to do wheel slides. I do some stalls sometimes, so it's nice having a little bit of sole there. But you have to be really careful because doing swivels and stuff on the other pair that has the Shadow UHMW soles and the 60 millimeter wheels and stuff, even with them rockered down, if I go into a deep edge, I'm going to end up in slide territory. And like when you're not expecting it, it's pretty scary. And it kind of limits my particular vocabulary because I'm so into, swivel dancy things. So finding a way to have a sole and still be able to do all that stuff was really important to me. And these, again, I complained about the heel wing being so small. But even on the front, like I can go about as deep as I need to go without the boot touching down. I mean, I can make the boot touch if I really want to, but there's no practical reason to do it. And that point, as far as frame height, really comes at a different spot on a lot of skates. So, something like the other pair with the Shadows, like I may need 100 millimeter wheels or something like that to get the height that I need for those soles. Something a little bit slimmer like K2s, I don't know, maybe it's, closer to 90, but for these, and probably K2 Midtown, Uptowns would be the same way. It's so small that, these were 84s, they're the burned out ones that I had on my Metros for a while. Height-wise, I have to believe it's closer to just like a fresh 80 millimeter frame right now, but yeah, still no touching down. Another thing about the Energizer cuff for these purposes is I've never been particularly good at toe and heel rolls. I just don't practice them a lot. But every time I'm in these skates, I find myself practicing them a lot because the skates are just conducive to it. Like I'm instantly better at doing them when I put the skates on. And I think it's a lot more fun to pursue something that you feel that you already have some sort of a talent for. So being in these skates, I think I'm going to end up perfecting that skill. Or not, if not perfecting it, at least honing it a little bit. You know what I'm saying. Bottom line is, for toe rolls and heel rolls, whatever it is about this skate and the design of the cuff and whatnot, it's very, very conducive to that. So that's about it. Verdict, are they worth all the hype? Yeah, I'd say if you can find a nice pair. The hardware on them is really top notch. Like I've never worried or seen anybody mess up any of the hardware. The boot itself is thick, rigid, everything you need it to be. The liners, man, I really hope those USD Quantums come with like a redesigned liner. If Powerslide just sticks a Skinny Boy in there or something, like I swear to God, I'm going to throw a fit. But hopefully they see the merit enough in that design to really give it the attention it deserves and redesign a liner specifically for it. The cuffs, again, there's something magical about them. Soles, if you have a flat pair of sole plates that you're partial to, which I think pretty much every aggressive skater does at this point, just sand the bottom flat and stick them on. You'll enjoy the extra rigidity of all these sole plate bolts. If you manage to countersink some of them in the new soles you put on them, they'll be a lot more stiff than they were on the carbons that you took them off of, for instance. All in all, great skates. Wish they still made them because I would buy them new just to support the company in doing so. Right now, they're my go-to for free skates and aggressive skates. So out of the 4 types of skating I do, they cover half of them. I mean, one of them's ice skating, so clearly I can't do that. And then the other one is the, more dancey type stuff, which they weren't designed with that in mind, so you can't really fault them for it. I will say that the old Salomon FSK was the go-to for slalom for many years. So, man, I'm really curious about that boot. I hope they don't mess it up. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions about these that I didn't cover, please hit me up. Hit me up on Instagram. Check out #CityBlades. It's where me and Brock and sometimes Bryant post all of our antics. So, yeah, good times all around. See you later.